So story time about my sophomore horror story. So a little background information. I was 16 and a sophomore in high school, obviously. And I had been dating this guy who we're gonna call Matt for about a month. We met at the beginning of the summer at this cookout that my mom's work had every year. And apparently I had been going to school with him since I was in kindergarten, which was weird because I had no idea who the hell this kid was. But from what I heard, it was mainly because people thought that he was quiet and weird, so he did not have that many friends. So eventually we started hanging out every day during the summertime, and I introduced him to all of my friends, and literally all of my friends adored him. Not to mention he got along great with my guy friends too, which I had a lot of because my dad was the coach of the football team at the high school. But anyways, I was just happy that he was kind of making some of his own friends in a way. I mean, not technically, but I was just happy that he was making friends, okay? Because nobody should have to eat alone every day at lunch or just not have anybody to talk to in general. But him and I ended up becoming best friends. We would hang out every single day, like literally every single fucking day. And eventually a month later, he asked me to be his girlfriend. And in all honesty, it was like the sweetest thing in the world. He had just gotten his license, so he drove over to my house and he brought me this huge teddy bear with this cake that said, "Will you be my girlfriend?" And he also put this card in there that said, "I'm so happy you came into my life. Before, everything was so black and gray and I never had any goals or anything to look forward to. But ever since I met you, I've seen the world in a different light. I actually wake up every morning knowing that I have something to live for. And you are all that I think about. Thank you for being the most amazing person I've ever met." So cute. Now, listen, I know that low-key sounds depressing as fuck because pretty much it is. But my mom did say that whenever his mom and her talked, his mom said that he had really bad depression and anxiety pretty much his whole life. But after his dad died 3 years ago, it got way worse. And they eventually had to put him on an extremely high dosage of antidepressants. And he even went into a mental hospital after he tried to unalive himself, which made things even worse because once the word spread around, he was known as the kid who tried to unalive himself, which really didn't help his case at all. But I guess this was all stuff that his mom and my mom talked about whenever we first started hanging out, because recently his mom called my mom to tell her that she wanted to thank me because she hasn't seen her son this happy in years. Like, apparently he would talk to a therapist 4 times a week, but after 2 weeks of hanging out with me / knowing me, he only talks to her once a week now. Let me out here doing God's work. Period. Anyway, she also said that he just seems more full of life. But our relationship was perfect, to be honest. He would send me these huge paragraphs every morning whenever I woke up. He would also come to my house every day. We went on dates like 3 nights a week, and the nights that we couldn't go on dates were the nights that he was working to make more money for us to go out on more dates. He was pretty much just like my knight in shining armor, okay? Now, I was an only child, and my dad and Matt got along super well. They would watch sports together. He would even come over to my house before I even got home from my cheer practice just to hang out with my dad. And the one night while my dad, my mom, and I were sitting at dinner, we were talking about Matt, and my dad said that he felt really bad for Matt because Matt admitted to him earlier that day that he never had that father-son relationship with his dad even before he passed away. So he looked at my dad as the closest person to a father figure that he had pretty much ever had. But that made me happy because my dad thought of him as like his own son. Anyways, he was never involved in any activities in school or any sports, but my dad talked him into trying out for the football team. And this made me super happy because, you know, whenever you're in a relationship with someone and you just want the best for them, that was like one of these moments. Like, I knew life was shit for him before, but everything seemed to be looking up now. So he ended up making the team, which was not a surprise at all because all of his older brothers played football. And before Matt and I met, Matt's mom didn't want him spending every single day alone up in his room. So he would usually be forced to go outside and play football with his brothers every day. Anyways, fast forward to the first day of school. He picked me up and we both went to school together that morning. And I'm not gonna lie, since I met Matt, he has had like the best fucking glow up ever. Now, I'm not saying that as in like I caused it, but you know how whenever you get to like a low point in your life and you just literally could give 2 fucks about what you look like, you stop taking care of yourself? Well, that was Matt, except now he actually put effort into his outfits, he would do his hair, and I was just so proud of him and so happy for him. But holy shit, did I not know what problems this would fucking bring me. So I was kind of known around school, okay? Like I said, I was friends with pretty much every guy on the football team because my dad was the coach, and I was also a cheerleader, so I had a lot of girlfriends. Now, this meant that everybody pretty much knew who I was dating, and now even more people know Matt because since he's on the football team, he was now in that clique, so everybody knew who my boyfriend was. Which I didn't care about it at first because, you know, you kind of want to show your significant other off. But after the first day of school, we both went to my house after, and it was super weird because he kept getting Snapchat notifications, right? Now, this wouldn't be weird, but ever since I met him, he always said that he hated social media. He said that it was super toxic and he just didn't see the point in having it. So in a playful way, I was like, oh, like you're super popular for someone who doesn't have Snapchat or something along those lines. And he was like, oh yeah, a few of the guys on the football team told me to get it and people have just been adding me all day. So I was super annoyed because he didn't even ask me what mine was. Like, he didn't text me and say, hey babe, got Snapchat, what's your Snapchat? And I was like, oh, let me see your phone, I'll add myself. And when I went to go and add myself, literally everyone who was adding him were fucking the junior and senior girls. So now I'm even more annoyed than I was before. So after I give his phone back, I'm like, so how do you know all those girls? And at this point, I guess he realized that I was upset slash weirded out, because he gave me a hug and said, don't worry, it's only the first day of school. I'm not going to throw you away for one of these girls that I don't even know. Which made me happy, you know. He was reassuring me that these girls had no chance of getting with him. And things were kind of normal for the next few weeks. I mean, he wasn't sending me good morning texts like he used to, but we were both busy with school, so I was trying to be understanding. He also stopped taking me out on dates and would leave my house early every night because he said that he was extremely tired and he would be on his phone the whole time when he was at my house. Anyways, fast forward to the first football game. Our school won and Matt came over after, gave me a hug and a kiss. And Matt and I had already talked about what we were going to do after if they won, like how we were going to celebrate. And the original plans were to go out to dinner and then we would go and see a movie. But whenever he came over to me, he was like, I'm going to go to this party that Sabrina's throwing. Now, Sabrina was one of the seniors, and I only really knew her because at the beginning of the season, we would have cheer sleepovers at her house with everyone on the cheer squad, duh. Anyways, every time it would be at her house, even though she wasn't even a cheerleader, but her mom was the coach, so that's probably the reason why. Anyways, her and I weren't even close, but the only other thing that I did know about her was she had a reputation for screwing guys that had girlfriends, especially guys who were younger, because she said they were more gullible. I don't even think I would argue with her on that one. But anyways, she also said that she was doing these girls a favor because if they didn't cheat, that meant that they actually liked their girlfriends. But if they did, then she was helping show their true colors. And 99% of the guys that she went after would fuck her. And then the other small 0.1% that didn't want to do anything with her, she would get them drunk and they would do stuff together. Yeah, which I'm pretty sure is illegal. But anyway, so like I said, he told me that he was going to go to Sabrina's party, so I was like, okay, that's fine. Could we stop at my house so I can get changed and then we can go? And he looked down at the ground and he goes, yeah, you're not invited. Like, what the fuck? So I asked him why, and he's like, well, only people on the football team are allowed. And I was like, well, that's bullshit, because half of the girls on the cheer squad were literally talking about this party, and I'm a cheerleader, so I should be invited. And he was like, yeah, the only reason why you heard some of them talking about it was because only juniors and seniors are invited. So now I'm confused. I'm like, well, why the fuck were you invited? And he's like, well, those rules don't apply for freshmen and sophomores who are on the football team. Like, okay, bud. So I asked him if he can at least take me home, you know, that would be the decent thing to do. Nope. Nope. He goes, I can't because I have to go straight to my house and change, and then I have to pick up a few people on the way there. So of course I'm fucking upset. Of course I want to fucking cry, but I can't because then I'm gonna look like pathetic as fuck. But I felt like I didn't even know who Matt was in that moment, because my Matt would have gone, if this makes you uncomfortable, I won't go. Or he would have told Sabrina, fuck you, if you want me there, my girlfriend's coming. So I got a ride home with my dad, and he was like, oh, where's Matt? Because he also knew about our fucking plans. And when I told him what happened, he could 100% tell that I was upset. But he was like, you have to be understanding, okay? He's never had friends before. He's never felt like he's belonged anywhere. Think about if you were in his shoes. At that point, I pretty much told my dad to shut the fuck up and leave me the hell alone. So fast forward to around 10 o'clock at night. I'm still crying like a fucking baby, especially because I haven't gotten a text or a call from him being like, hey, you know, just anything. I would have said it for literally anything. But finally, I get a Snapchat from him, and it's Sabrina taking the fucking picture, and she has her head like rested on his shoulder like this. Wow, my night just keeps getting better. And I know Sabrina's house like the back of my fucking hand because of all the cheer sleepovers and all the parties that I went to, because I was invited to every single fucking party that she had. I was literally even in the group chat where she sent out mass text message saying, hey, party at my place, da 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 da. Anyways, they were on this couch that was up inside her room, right? Now, the rooms were off limits unless you were going to do something in one of the rooms with someone. Obviously, her room was closed off unless she wanted to go up there and do something with someone. So I don't even respond to the Snapchat because I'm literally fucking furious and I don't want to give her any satisfaction of knowing that I'm pissed off. But to make it 10 times worse, I go on to Snapchat and I see Matt and Sabrina on everyone's story who's at the party. And the one was a picture with both of them passed out on the couch in her bedroom with her legs over his. And then there was a video that this one kid, Adam, who was also on the football team, there was a video that he took on the fucking story. And it was a few of the other guys and him running up to Matt while he's sleeping on the couch. They were shaking him and waking him up and saying, oh, did you and Bree fuck? Like, da-da-da-da-da. Like, Matt, did you fuck Bree? So since it was only 2.5 hours into this party, and usually these parties went on till like 3 a.m., unless you were sleeping over, which 90% of the people usually did sleep over, and I would know because I was in that 90%, and so were the guys who Bree planned on sleeping with. So I had to make a decision fast, okay? Either one, I could go and crash this party, right? But also look like a dumbass because my boyfriend went without me in the first place. Number 2, I could commit arson. Or 3, I could do the most logical fucking thing ever. I could call the police and make a noise complaint. So that is exactly what I fucking did. I called the cops and I told them there was a lot of noise coming from Sabrina's address. Also, I said that there were teenagers outside, drunk, laying on the street, throwing beer cans all over the road, and they were vandalizing cars. I literally made up every single fucking lie in the book. I'm crazy. So 30 minutes after I do that, I see a video on someone's private story that says when the party gets busted, and it's them and like 20 other kids running into the woods in the back of Sabrina's house. So the next morning I text Matt and I'm like, hey, I saw what happened last night. Are you okay? Like, I give a fuck. But he didn't fucking answer for like an hour, so I called him and he finally answers, and I told him we needed to talk about last night. So an hour later he comes over to my house and I was like, listen Matt, I'm really trying not to be the crazy girlfriend because that's not me, but those pictures and videos that I saw in everybody's stories last night were super fucking inappropriate. For someone to even ask you if you fucked another girl while you're in a relationship, not to mention you being alone with her up in her room, pretty much laying on each other. He looks at me wide-eyed and he's like, that never happened. Don't you just love whenever people lie and you have the proof and you know what they did, but they lie anyway straight to your face, and you're just sitting there and you're like what the fuck? So I was like, okay, well go check your friend's stories. So he grabs his phone and it's dead, of course. So then I give him mine and he unlocks it. And it's still on my call log from earlier whenever I called him, and he sees the 911 call. Just great. And I didn't even know, so I'm just sitting there like la da 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 until he shoves the phone in my fucking face. And he's like, were you the one who called the fucking cops last night? And I was like, no, like I accidentally sat on my phone and the emergency thing went on and it called the cops. But he didn't believe me because, let's be honest, nobody would believe anyone in that situation. It's not a fucking coincidence. But then he starts yelling about how he could have gotten an underage, and if you don't know what an underage means, it pretty much means that you were caught doing something under the age of 21, like drinking or whatever. I don't know. And then he's like, I also could have got a DUI because I had to drive home drunk. So I'm screaming at this point. I'm like, don't fucking flip this around on me. Like, I had no fucking choice. And I showed him the videos and the pictures. After that, he apologizes. We talk it out, but then 20 minutes later, he says that he has to go, which was weird because it's literally Saturday, and we always hung out on Saturdays. So my best friend Maggie is a junior, and I called her to talk to her about everything and tell her what the hell was going on. And she was like, yeah, Sabrina had told everyone to post those pictures on their stories. Also, Adam took that video like an hour before it was posted. He showed it to her, and then she was like, oh my god, you need to post that on your story. And everyone pretty much knows that it was you who called the cops. And when I asked her how, she was like, well, first of all, none of her neighbors have ever called the cops on her for having a party, and two, your boyfriend kind of spilled the beans. What a fucking snake. And to be honest, I'm happy that she knows because she shouldn't have fucked with me in the first place. So fast forward like 2 weeks, Matt is still pissed off about the situation. When he would pick me up in the morning, he would barely talk to me. And when I asked him what was wrong, he would be like, oh, I'm just tired. And he stopped coming over to my house as much. He would barely answer my text messages. It felt like we weren't even dating. It felt like it was the end of a friendship. Yeah, it really just felt like everything was falling apart and he could care less. He started hanging out with Bree and her friend group every single fucking day, literally every day. He went to every single party, which coincidentally, I wasn't fucking invited to any of them. And like I said, before we even started dating, I was invited to every single one of these fucking parties. Well, the one day I'm sitting at home and I'm studying because I have a ton of exams the next day before winter break starts. Like tomorrow's the last day before I have a month and a half off. And all of a sudden I get a FaceTime from Matt, which is weird because we haven't FaceTimed since before school even started. And I was extremely pissed off at him because the day before this was our 4 months and I didn't get a text, call, or anything from him. He went and hung out with Bree and her friends. By the way, Bree is short for Sabrina. So I decided not to answer the phone, and then literally like 5 seconds later, I get a text message that says, answer the phone, bitch. Y'all, I almost fell off my fucking chair. Now, yes, Matt and I were having some fucking issues, but he has never, ever once been disrespectful to me like that. Even whenever he figured out that I called the cops, he didn't call me any names or anything like that, you know? So I sent him a text back and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And then he sends a text saying, my bad. Like, what do you mean, my bad? So then I get another FaceTime call from him and I answer the phone and it's literally him and someone fighting over his phone, and I hear laughing and giggling in the fucking background, and then he finally grabs the phone and he's like, oh shit, sorry, and hangs up the phone. Like, what a little piece of fucking trash. So I call him back, and guess who answers the phone? Sabrina and her friends. And when they answer the phone, they're like, oh my fucking god, like, what do you want? Matt doesn't fucking like you, leave him alone. And then they turn the camera around on Matt, and they're like, Matt, do you really want to be with this ugly ass fucking bitch? And Matt just doesn't say anything. He literally sits there and covers his face. And a few seconds later, Sabrina goes, well, the silence says it all, ha 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 ha. And then Matt just starts laughing. So I fucking died on the inside, literally. Like, I had never had anyone be so fucking mean to me in my life. Like, if you didn't like me, just say that. It's fine, cool, break up with me. But why the fuck are you putting me through this shit? Now, I mean, to be honest, I should have broke up with him. I know, you know. But I guess I just was remembering all the good times that Matt and I had and who he was whenever we first met. So I ignored him the whole rest of the day. The next day at school, he tried coming up to me in between classes. And the next day, I told you guys winter break started. I woke up to 9 missed calls, 23 text messages, and 6 voicemails, all from yours truly, Matt. They were pretty much saying, I'm so sorry, please talk to me, I love you, and a bunch of other bullshit. But around 6 o'clock that night, Matt showed up at my house with flowers and chocolates. Him and I talk. He apologized for how he was acting. I accepted his apology. We worked on our issues, but actions speak louder than words, so I wasn't completely sold on I'm going to change. But that month was honestly the best month of our relationship since the summertime. We hung out all day, every day. Anytime that Bree texted him saying, hey, wanna hang out? He would be like, sorry, I'm with my girlfriend right now, aka me bitches. Well, the one night my parents went to my grandparents' house to help them set up their Christmas tree. So Matt and I decided that we were gonna drink a little bit, and one thing led to another, and we ended up doing the nasty, which I'm making it seem like not a big deal for it being my first time, but it was a big deal. But I had a feeling it wasn't Matt's first time. Now, when Matt and I first met and we were only best friends, he had told me that he never did anything with anybody before, which I believed 100%. But he already had like 3 condoms in his wallet, and he just seemed experienced. Okay, fast forward, every time we hung out we were doing the deed, and I didn't feel like he was using me for that, to be honest, because nothing else changed. It wasn't like he was like, hey, I'm gonna come over and we're gonna fuck and then I'm gonna leave and only text you tomorrow whenever I'm gonna do it again. It wasn't like that at all. But the one night we were about to do the nasty, and he goes, oh, like we should make a video. You know, of course. And I was in love with this kid. Him and I were doing super good at the time, so I didn't think anything of it. I was like, yeah, sure, why not? Like, I don't give a fuck. Fast forward, school starts back up, and I have completely forgot about this video. It is like out of my mind, and everything was going smooth sailing with Matt and I, so I wasn't really worried about anything. But the one day, Adam invites Matt over, and Bree and her friends just happen to be there. So Matt texted me, he's like, hey, Bree and her friends are here, so I'll be over your house in the next 10 minutes. Like, I'm just gonna try to get out of here fast. But then 10 minutes turned into 3 hours. Yeah. So then 3 hours later, he texts me saying, hey, I'm outside, and I just ignore his text message because I'm not fucking dealing with this. Like, at this point, I'm done. The next day, he hung out with them again. Not a shock. And when he was hanging out with them, I get a text message from his phone, and it's the video that him and I took with a text message saying, ew, what the fuck, with a bunch of laughing emojis. Obviously, I knew this was not Matt. So I'm blowing up Matt's phone, right? And getting no answers until Bree answers the phone. And she's like, bro, you're a fucking slut. Leave Matt alone. He doesn't want to talk to you. So that night, I had people Snapchatting me and texting me basically to let me know that the video was leaked. Like, I already fucking knew that, duh. So the next morning, Matt picks me up for school. And before we get to school, he pulls over into a parking lot so we can talk. And I'm like, why would you let them go through your phone? Do you not care about me? Like, I've been trying to be the best fucking girlfriend I can possibly be to you, be understanding. And every time I turn around, you just keep stabbing me in the fucking back. And he was like, listen, like, I'm sorry. That wasn't my intention. They took my phone and they wouldn't give it back until I promised to stay a little bit longer. But that's besides the point, because I don't think we should be together anymore. And my heart officially broke. I asked him why, and he was like, well, everyone saw you naked and I can't date a whore, let alone someone who was branded as one. And I was like, this whole thing is literally your fucking fault. And he was like, I know, I'm sorry, but what do you want me to say whenever my guy friends bring up the video and start calling you a slut? Huh? Like, I won't be able to defend you. So after I say okay, he told me that I had to get out of the car, and I was like, so what, you can't even be seen with me? And he's like, nope. So I got out and he drove away. So I walked to school. When I got there, I was getting called terrible names. Not to mention, nobody wanted to be seen with me whatsoever. And at the end of the day, I had to have a meeting with Sabrina's mom, aka the cheer coach, and she said that my actions are not what we want representing the team, so she cut me from the squad. And eventually I talked my mom into letting me do homeschool. In a few weeks, I found out that Matt was having you-know-what with Bree since the party after the first football game. But he really did stop during winter break, and then the first day that he hung out with them, they did it again. All while I was going through fucking hell. You know, not to throw myself a pity party or anything, but my heart breaks for myself because I try to help someone out of a dark space, and in return, I get put into their place. But you know what? I will never be the same trusting, giving person like I was ever again. I don't want to show you guys the makeup or anything yet, but I forgot to say that this is more of like an aftermath of what happened. Okay, I am going to tell you guys right now, please grab your popcorn, grab the laundry basket, go to the dishes, and buckle up because this is about to be a roller coaster, literally, okay? You know what I do have to say? Listen, karma's a bitch, and when karma does its thing, she does it real good, okay? So I'm gonna go through a little bit more of a timeline on when things happened. So my winter break started on December 4th of 2021, and that's whenever Matt and I were really focusing on making our relationship better and fixing it, okay? Thankfully, it didn't take us that long to get things straightened out, and for the rest of winter break, we were doing super well. He wasn't talking to Sabrina anymore, and I thought that we were finally back on track. Now, winter break ended on January 2nd of 2022, and listen, you would think that it would at least take like maybe a few weeks for things to go back to shit. No, it didn't. I actually find it quite comical that things turned to shit like 72 hours later, literally. Because on January 5th, he decided to skip school to hang out with his friends. And of course, Sabrina just happened to be there. Yay.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa.
That's too damn bad!
So Sabrina's there. of course. And I don't even know why he texted me telling me that she was there and that he was gonna try to leave in 10 minutes. Like, why didn't you just lie to me? Like, yeah, I'm one of those. Like, please, actually. Like, why did you tell me if you didn't plan on leaving in 10 minutes? Anyways, so, you know, blah, blah, blah. This liar shows up 3 hours later. And then the next day he hangs out with these friends again. This time he did not care that Bree was there. And January 6th was the day that the video got leaked. And then on January 7th at 7 in the morning, that is whenever Matt broke up with me. Like, what a shitty start to a day. Like, one of my biggest pet peeves is whenever your significant other will start shit with you right before work or right before school or during work. Like, you couldn't have waited until after my shift. Anyway, so as I told you guys, my mom allowed me to do homeschooling, which not long after I started doing homeschooling, going back to school seemed like the better option. Not because I was lonely or anything like that, but because literally things in my house were extremely rocky. Every single day, my mom, dad, and I would get into screaming matches. And it was because my dad decided to take Matt and Sabrina's mom's side. He was like, oh, well, Sabrina's mom is right. That isn't the reputation that we need to have for our cheerleaders. And you know, honey, sometimes you have to understand that men don't like whenever women put themselves out there like that. And I'm just like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, hello, you moron. I didn't put myself out there in any type of way. Like, he wasn't understanding that it was Matt. It was Matt who put me out there in that type of way, okay? Like, clearly the fact that I am his child is not registering. I literally came out of your testicles. Like, and you care about a kid that you met less than a year ago than you do your own okay, I get it. Anyway, so obviously this caused a bunch of issues between him and my mom because my mom understood the fact that what Matt did was not okay and that Sabrina is actually evil. Like, these are the two main people who put your daughter through hell and you're gonna take their side. I'm sorry, I'm just still stuck on it. Anyway, so yeah, there was that, and then there was also the fact that I got my phone taken, but it wasn't because of the video itself or like me being grounded in any type of way. It wasn't to punish me. Pretty much my aunt had gone through this with her daughter before, you know, her nudes got leaked, but she gave my mom advice saying that she doesn't think that I should have my phone because when this happened to my cousin, her mental health significantly declined, blah, 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 this, that, and the next. And yeah, so my mom listened and took away my phone, which I mean, I get it. She didn't want the same thing to happen to me, and this was a very complicated situation. Anyway, so that was that. And then my mom knew that I was super passionate about cheer, and she knew that I would most likely want to go back to school next year and be on the cheer team again. So she ended up going to the school and threatening to sue them, which honestly, I don't know what she would have sued them for, but she was pissed about the fact that I was being kicked off the cheer squad, but Matt was allowed to stay on the football team. Like, they didn't suspend him or anything, and as she should be, because what the fuck. So like I said, she went to the school, she raised hell, she threatened to do everything that she could in the book, and the school didn't want to have to deal with any of that shit, so they decided to put me back on the team. Was it because they realized it was unfair? No. Not only did they not want to deal with the bullshit, but also they didn't want to have to kick Matt off the team because he was a quarterback, and our team was actually garbage before Matt came on the football team. And it was super rare that like a sophomore, I guess, is like usually QB on a football team in high school. I don't know, okay? But because of everything that happened, I decided that I was gonna do homeschooling for the rest of the year. And the next year I would join the cheer team because I would be going back to in-person school again. Anyway, so now that I've told you guys about that, let's talk about the aftermath of this situation. Because, yeah. Buckle up, okay? I'm about to tell you how Sabrina ruined her own life. Yep. But first we're gonna have to kind of dive into her past a little bit, do a little background check. So Bree's parents actually put her in school a year later than they should have because her parents were super big on sports. Obviously her mom was a cheer coach, and both of her older brothers were like star football players on college football teams. And the reason why they did this was because they wanted her to have a physical advantage over her peers when it came to sports and stuff for like athletic scholarships and etc. Now listen, I know that some of these things may seem like random details, but I promise you they all tie in together, so just try to keep up. Now this meant that instead of Sabrina turning 15 her freshman year, she was going to be turning 16. Also, her birthday was like pretty early, so actually she was already 15 by the time that she got into her freshman year, and she was going to be turning 16, which means that her junior year of high school she was already 18, and then her senior year she was 19. So she was literally a full-on adult in her junior year of high school. Now listen, I'm not trying to be rude at all whenever I say this, but she was not the best looking, okay? But it wasn't like she was ugly. Like, if I were to put her on a scale, I would say that she's like a 7 out of 10. But what really put her at a disadvantage whenever it came to guys was her personality. Like, her personality took her from a 7 to a 3 real quick. And the only reason why she had a lot of friends, which 99% of them were cheerleaders, was because we were all terrified of her mom. Like, listen, if Sabrina said that the sky was pink and not blue, we were all gonna agree with her because we all knew the power that she held with her mom being the coach. Another thing about her is she didn't get a lot of attention from guys, obviously, because if she would have, who knows if we would be sitting here today telling the story. Anyways, she was one of those girls that most guys only wanted to be intimate with, and they didn't want anything else from her. Like, they didn't want to date her or anything. I mean, sure, there were a few guys here and there that actually liked her, but she didn't care about the guys who liked her. She had a fetish, like a very weird fetish, for pretty girls' boyfriends. And if none of you have encountered a woman like this, congratulations, you are one of the select few. Some of you probably encountered one and don't even know it. Like, it would boost her ego knowing that she could have what these other beautiful women had. And I'm just gonna throw a piece of advice in here real quick. Please beware of girls like this. I've probably talked about it in another video, but if I haven't, here it is. Now, I'm not hating on girls who have low self-esteem. We've all been there, you know, we all have our own insecurities and stuff like that, but some girls don't know how to deal with their insecurities. Some of them will hate other women for having what they don't have, and then there are some who seek validation through knowing that they can have the things that these girls have and they don't. I've actually ended a friendship with a girl over something like this. This girl would deliberately send nude pictures and sleep with guys who had girlfriends. And yes, I am somebody that is a believer in the fact that the woman is not a part of the relationship, so we should not go after her. But I'm not gonna lie, if you are knowingly sleeping with men who have girlfriends, that's a reflection of you. Yeah, it's one of him, but you know. Anyways, I never knew this until one day she, for some reason, felt comfortable enough telling me. Probably felt dumb right after though, because I told her that it was fucked up. But she would make weird comments like, oh, I'm definitely prettier than his girlfriend. And I'm just like, what is wrong with you? So listen, I don't care if it's your best friend doing it to someone else, because they will turn around and do it to you. Listen, we have heard countless stories of girls with best friends of 10 and 20 years still screwing them over. Sometimes people who don't have good morals let those selfish tendencies consume them. So please, just be careful. But sadly, Sabrina has always been that way. And for the past 8 years, Sabrina's mom has been a coach for the cheer team at our school. Now, fast forward to whenever Sabrina finally got into high school, there was this girl named Grace who was the captain of the cheer team, and she was a senior, and she would always throw kickbacks and these parties that literally everybody was invited to. Like, it didn't matter if you were an outcast, a nerd, nobody liked you, you were still invited. And because of how nice Grace was, everybody loved her. But of course, Sabrina did not like the attention that Grace would get from everybody. So she figured that the way to get everybody's attention onto her would be to throw a better party than Grace. But I don't think that she realized that it wasn't about how big the party was, it was the fact that Grace was nice. So she does exactly that. She throws a party on the same night that Grace does, and she expected everybody to show up to her party because her mom was the cheer coach, when in reality, nobody except for the cheer team gives a shit about that. Nobody cares. Your mom doesn't have any authority outside of being a coach. So yeah, nobody showed up to her party. Obviously, this really upset her. And this was during the time whenever Finstas were super popular. Almost everybody had one. So what does she do? She goes onto the cheerleaders' Finstas and she screenshots their stories from the party, and she shows her mom pictures and videos of the cheerleaders smoking and drinking. Here's the thing, right? Sabrina's mom thought that she was an absolute saint. Like, she really thought that all of these things that Sabrina was doing was because she cared about the school's image. All because Sabrina would go and tell her anytime that any of the cheerleaders was doing something that might put the team or the school's reputation at risk. Like, girl, settle down. This is a public school. This is like, what the fuck? Like, anyways, obviously this was not the case at all. Sabrina was just an insecure, jealous brat. Anyways, so Bree's mom adored Grace, and because of this, she didn't want to kick Grace off the team, so she just decided to threaten her. I say that so nonchalant, like it's normal. Yeah, she just decided to threaten her. But yeah, she did. She literally just decided to threaten her, and she was like, if you throw any more parties, you're gonna be kicked off the team. I don't want anybody on this team participating in smoking, drinking, vulgar dancing. Like, go home, grandma. So after this situation, this is pretty much whenever Sabrina realized that she held like a lot of power. Now, personally, I think that if Sabrina's mom would have told Sabrina to mind her own business, and if she just would have went to Grace and said that they need to watch what they post on social media, blah, 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 that Sabrina would have never turned out the way that she did. But because her mom was like actively threatening girls on the cheer team, she felt untouchable. So yeah, since Sabrina's freshman year in high school, she's been throwing these parties and excluding people that were beneath her, or she felt like were beneath her. And after she threw her first party, she decided not to invite Grace to any more of them out of pure jealousy. Because the first party that she threw, Grace and her boyfriend show up to the party, and Bree had a crush on Grace's boyfriend, of course. And obviously the only girl that he was paying attention to was Grace. Listen, I know you guys are probably sitting here thinking like, how the hell do you know all this when you weren't even in high school at the same time as her? Listen, I heard this from somebody else who has also experienced or been abused by Sabrina firsthand. But don't worry, you guys are gonna hear about her in a second. So Sabrina has done the same thing that she did to me to 3 other girls throughout her time in high school. I mean, she didn't do the exact same thing, but she did get all 3 of these girls kicked off the cheer team by showing her mom explicit pictures of them. But unlike what happened with my boyfriend, it was because these girls' boyfriends wouldn't sleep with her. Yeah, so pretty much if she thought that any of the girls on the team were a threat to her in any sort of way, she would tell them that in order to be invited to the sleepovers and come to the parties, they would have to send her a nude photo of themselves, so she could use it as, quote, leverage if they ever decided to tell any of her secrets. Obviously, these girls who knew that they weren't gonna tell any of Sabrina's secrets felt, I wouldn't say comfortable, but confident sending her these photos, because Sabrina really made it seem like an inner circle type of thing that we had going on, when it wasn't at all like that. Like, not even the littlest bit like that. And I know you guys are probably thinking, like, bro, not all of these girls could be this dumb. Listen, okay, not all of them were. Most of them told her to go F herself and that they didn't want to be a part of this clique. But the ones who did fall for this, Brie wouldn't just say that to them. Like, she would play on their insecurities and emotions. Like, I specifically remember seeing a video of her and this one girl at her house talking, and Sabrina goes and she's like, I'm not saying this to be mean, but you should be thankful that I'm even inviting you into our friend group, because nobody at this school likes fat girls. Yeah. And the worst part was, when I say play on people's insecurities, this girl was not that. She actually was really severely underweight and she had an eating disorder, and Sabrina knew it. Like, she knew that because this girl like told us, she felt comfortable enough to tell us. Yeah, so anyways, when it came time to use these pictures, she was kind of smart. Instead of sending them around school, what she would do is Sabrina would go straight to her mom and show her mom these pictures and whoever else she wanted to, but she wouldn't show them to a lot of people, and she kept it very low-key because she didn't want to get in trouble for having the pictures on her phone. And when she would show her mom these explicit pictures of these girls, her mom wouldn't want to go to the school with them because she didn't want her daughter to get in trouble for having them on her phone also. So instead, what she would do is she would threaten them. She would go to them and she'd be like, yeah, I saw some explicit pictures of you and we have two options here. Either I can go to the school and tell your parents, tell the school, or you can quit the team and nobody has to know about this. Yeah. Naturally, these are young girls who don't want anybody finding out or seeing nude pictures of them. So they would just quit the team without putting up a fight. Can I just say, I could never imagine. Like, I feel so bad for these girls because, yeah, sure, it's their fault, they sent the pictures, they shouldn't have done it in the first place, whatever, but at the same time they probably felt so helpless because, one, if you go ask somebody for help, are your pictures going to be sent around school? And two, will anybody actually help you, or are they just gonna sit there and judge you? Anyway, so there was this girl named Gigi in my grade who was also on the cheer squad, and unlike the rest of us, she had no desire or interest in being friends with any of us. She didn't want to hang out with us, come to sleepovers, or come to parties. She did not want anything to do with Sabrina or anybody who associated with her. Now, none of us ever understood why. If I'm being honest, like, this sounds rude, but we all kind of just thought she was a nerd because all she would do is study for tests and do homework. Anytime we would invite her to go do anything, she would say that she can't because she either has to study or do homework or do something else for school. But in reality, this girl was not a nerd and she was not weird. She just knew how evil Sabrina was, and it wasn't because anything happened to her. But after I got kicked off the team and started my homeschool, like I told you guys, my mom, she had taken my phone away, but I knew where she put it, so I would literally just go and take it out of her room sometimes to check it and see what was going on in the world. But whenever I checked it the one day, I saw that this girl Gigi reached out to me to see how I was doing, which was weird because we had never spoke before, ever. Like, the only reason why we even had each other's phone numbers was because we were on a cheer group chat that she literally never responded in, but I appreciated it, and it was honestly really comforting to know that somebody cared about how I was doing. I mean, none of my other friends texted me asking me how I was doing during this time or if I was okay. Then again, all of my friends were Sabrina's, quote, friends, more like they were actually terrified of her. Like, shame on them for being followers. I mean, actually, okay, I take that back. Like, in reality, they weren't the ones who got themselves into this situation, so why should they ruin their lives or put their lives, reputations, or whatever in jeopardy because of something that I did? Never mind, I don't blame them. Anyway, so like I said, Gigi reaches out and she told me that Sabrina had done something similar to her older sister, Amy. So I obviously wanted to know what happened, just because it's comforting whenever you, even though it's like effed up to say that you want somebody to go through the same thing as you, it's comforting to know that you're not the only person who has gone through something. So we ended up doing a group FaceTime call between Gigi, Amy, my mom, and I, because yes, I did tell my mom. I told her that I took my phone, and then I also told her that something similar happened to a girl that used to go to our high school as well. Obviously, my mom's curious about this too, so, because my mom was like out for blood. Literally. Anyways, so after talking to Amy, that's how I kind of learned about Sabrina's whole past. And let me just give you a little summary of Amy's story real quick. Pretty much what happened to Amy was she was obviously on the cheer team. She had just started dating this hockey player, Jordan, and they had a good little relationship going on. And sometimes she would invite him to the football and basketball games. And at one of these games, Sabrina noticed him, and I guess that she liked him, so she went over, she started flirting with him, and I guess that she thought he was flirting back with her. Actually, no, I take that back. She probably just didn't care. She probably knew that he was not flirting with her at all. She probably just saw that as a challenge and like loved it. Weirdo, bro. But anyways, after the game, she tried adding him on Snapchat and Instagram, and obviously he did not add her back on anything, and she even went as far as to going to his hockey games at his school. Yeah, like she was a full-on weirdo alert. Anyways, yeah, so like I said, he didn't care, didn't give her the time of day. This obviously made Sabrina mad, and she also has no problem like displaying her jealousy, like putting it on a pedestal for everybody to see. Like Jordan would usually pick Amy up after their games, their practice, and anytime that he came to pick her up from practice, he would usually bring her coffee, or anytime that he would be able to make it to the games, he would bring her flowers. And yeah, what's her face, Sabrina always had something to say about it. She'd be like, oh, those flowers look super cheap, da 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 da. Just like couldn't be happy for Amy. Not only that, but like she even went as far as to say that some of Jordan's friends had texted her saying that he was just using Amy for sex and popularity, which doesn't make any sense because he didn't even go to our school, so what popularity would he be gaining? You know, like why is it the girls with the prettiest names, you know, like why are they just like, they turn out to be evil? Like Sabrina, that's such a pretty name, but then here Sabrina goes ruining her own name. Like it just never makes sense to me. Like you got the girl over here named Miracle fucking ruining people's lives, and Angel like acting like a demon. Like what the fuck? Anyways, thankfully Amy had a good head on her shoulders and she did not care about what Sabrina had to say. What does Sabrina do? She goes and she gets with Amy's ex-boyfriend Darren, and Amy and this ex-boyfriend Darren had dated for like 2 years, and during that time she sent him pictures, whatever. Somehow Sabrina got them. Oh, so what does Sabrina do? Sabrina goes, she shows her mom, same thing over again, and this time Amy tried to put up like a little bit of a fight. Sabrina's mom called her into the office or whatever, into her office, and was like, yeah, either I tell the school and tell your parents or you quit the team. And Amy was like, how do you know it's me in these pictures, and where did you get these pictures? And Sabrina's mom didn't know what to say. So Amy, like a boss ass bitch, was like, okay, well, until you can provide me an answer on where you got these photos and how you know it's me in them, I'm still an active member of this team and I'll be at practice tomorrow, and you're lucky that I don't go and tell the principal that you just threatened me. Basically blackmail me. I don't really know if it's blackmail actually. Is it? Because like if you don't do this, I'm gonna do this. Yeah, it's blackmail, I think. I don't know. Someone let me know down below in the comments. Anyways, obviously this made Sabrina mad, so Sabrina ended up just literally sending this shit around school. And then her mom was able to kick her off the team without like, yeah, so nobody found out that it was Sabrina who did it. So anyways, yeah, Gigi's older sister Amy basically told her like, listen, you're gonna be in high school with this psycho evil bitch, and I want you to be careful because of this, that, and the next. She did this to me, blah, 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 blah. So this is the reason why Gigi didn't want anything to do with Sabrina. So the last thing that Amy had told us about Sabrina was the fact that her and her best friend Jocelyn have this one texting app on their phone, okay? And on this app is where they store all of these explicit pictures that they get from these girls and videos of them with guys, so that, and they would send them to each other in like this texting app. And they would do this because if they ever got their phone checked, all they would have to do is delete the app. So after Amy had told us about this phone texting app thing, my mom and I were like, oh. So we had asked Gigi if she would help us get this phone. Yeah. And try to get the password. Whether she had to fake become friends with her or do whatever. But Gigi was like, yeah, y'all are crazy. Like Gigi's mom didn't even want her joining the cheer squad when she got into high school because of Sabrina. She literally flat out said to Gigi, her and her mom are two very powerful women who seem to not care about messing up anybody's life. So no, I don't even want you joining the cheer squad. But if you do, you're not allowed to be friends with her. You're not allowed to go to any of the parties or sleepovers, etc., etc. So yeah, which it sounds extreme, but when you think about it, she's not wrong. Like she was able to do this to 3 girls, not even including me. And I know that 3 girls doesn't sound like a lot, but when you count the fact that she's literally a serial homewrecker too, it's a lot. Anyway, so I just decided to leave it alone. I'm like, okay, you know, it was a nice thought, whatever, whatever. But my mom was not about to give up that easily. Nope. Oh crap, I just put so much blush. Now, I didn't know this, but because my mom was able to get me back on the cheer team, one of the other girls that Sabrina had gotten kicked off the team, their mom went and asked my mom, hey, like, how'd you get your daughter back on the team? Like, what? I guess I shouldn't say kicked off the team because in reality they quit, but when you think about it, they had no choice but to quit. Anyways, back to this girl and her mom. So whenever I said earlier that these 3 girls, like, it was because their boyfriends wouldn't sleep with her, that was true, but one of the girls, she didn't have, nothing had to do with a boyfriend at all, like, at all. It was literally because Sabrina did not like the color of her skin. Yeah. That's why she got her kicked off the team. Yes, she was one of the girls that sent her nudes to her mom. I'm telling you, this girl sounds like the most awful human being ever. Literally. Anyway, so that's why my mom was not about to give up, because she wanted like some type of justice for this other girl as well. So my mom went to Gigi's mom and she was like, hey, can you please let your daughter do this? I don't know how, but she got Gigi's mom to say yes, and literally less than 4 days later, we had Sabrina's phone and her phone password. Yep, pretty much. It was the end of our football season, whatever, and there was this little party for the football players and the cheerleaders, and it was just like this small thing in the cafeteria where they had like cupcakes and games that the team members could play. And obviously, because Sabrina's mom's the coach, she came to this, and it was like during the last 2 periods of the day, so everybody already had their book bags and everything with them. And I guess that Sabrina and Jocelyn were playing the VR that they had, and if you don't know what a VR is, it's virtual reality. It's this thing that you put over your eyes and you can't see anything else because you're playing a game inside of this thing, and it's all you can see. So Gigi sees that Sabrina's phone is sitting on the windowsill next to her book bag, and like a minute before the bell rings for everybody to go home, she goes over, she swipes her phone, and bam, bell rings. This couldn't have been more perfect because she just blended in with everybody and nobody knew who took her phone. Yeah, and obviously she knew her password because she had been paying attention to her putting it in her phone like that whole week. So I don't even think that I can go into much detail about everything that was found on that phone because it was pretty bad, but I'm just gonna give you guys a little bit of information, okay? Pretty much my mom didn't want me knowing about anything else that was going on with this situation because she just said she didn't want me to be a part of it. I had already been through enough and I didn't need to worry about this. But my mom had a couple of friends in law enforcement, and Gigi's mom and my mom would talk on the phone about what was going on and anything new that they found out. And y'all, the one day I hear my mom talking to Gigi's mom on the phone, and so I told you guys that Bree threw parties almost every weekend. And of course there was underage drinking and everything else at these parties, and Sabrina had cameras all over her house. And no, it's not because her parents were afraid of anybody stealing anything. It was actually because during one of the first parties that she threw during her freshman year, some kid had OD'd on pills, and this kid's parents tried going after Sabrina's parents, saying that they were the ones who provided the alcohol, they knew the drugs were there, da 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 da. So I don't know how they made that go away, but the kid did end up living, thankfully. But after this, they decided to put cameras in the house everywhere, even in Bree's room, because that's where the kid OD'd. So I hear my mom say that they had found footage of Bree essentially creating CP in her room with a guy who was 15 and she was 19. So this was not long ago. She was doing stuff with him while he was asleep, and she made her friend Jocelyn record it as if it was him recording. And I remember this because this guy's girlfriend actually broke up with him because Bree had showed her the video and was like, yeah, like your man, da 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 da. Just thought I should tell you. And this kid was like, bro, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And also I was at that party and Bree had convinced everybody that he did stuff willingly with her. And let's just say half of the videos on her phone were with minors, because if you guys don't remember, in part 1, I told you guys that Bree loved going after the younger guys. Especially guys who were younger, because she said they were more gullible. Yeah. Let's just say it was bad. Honestly, I feel like the police took this way more serious than they would have if they hadn't had an investigation already going on against Sabrina's dad, because apparently he was involved in a situation, or he was like a suspect, and yeah, so they took advantage of that. But it doesn't matter, okay? The point is, Karma's a bitch. She's in jail with her dad, and in all honesty, I feel like this is low-key karma for her mom as well, because now her mom doesn't have anybody. That's honestly majority of the aftermath, to be honest. I guess the only other thing was Matt trying to get back with me, but I'm not really surprised that that happened. I mean, I guess I had told you guys that Matt and my dad got super close whenever him and I started dating, and then if you guys could probably tell, they stayed close and got closer even after this whole situation happened. The one thing I guess I didn't mention that probably explains why my dad loves Matt so much is that I had an older brother who passed away whenever he was 14, like right before I was born, and my parents don't like to talk about him or it at all. Like the only reason why I actually know that I have a brother is because my aunt told me, and I don't think that they had time to fully grieve the loss of him because, you know, my mom popped me out 3 months later, but my aunt told me that he passed away because he needed a blood transfusion, and through the blood transfusion he contracted HIV and it killed him. So I think that my dad has been using Matt as like somebody who can fill that empty space. So sometimes Matt would end up coming over and I would just lock myself in my room, and during summer break I knew that he was going to be coming over more because he was already trying to get back with me. Like he would literally come over, and specifically for dinner, so I would have to be downstairs with him and my family eating. He would try to make conversation with me, didn't give a fuck. So for the summer I was like, Mom, I want to go stay with my cousin Courtney. My cousin Courtney's 21, she lives on a college campus, she goes to parties 24/7. I knew that shit would be fun as fuck. So that's what happened. I went, and Matt literally showed up to the college campus 3 times looking for me. This is the same guy who said that we couldn't be together anymore, nor did he want to even be seen or associated with me because of what happened. Anyways, in the end, him and we obviously didn't get back together because I'm a bad bitch and I know that, and I know what that happened is fucked up, and I also know that I shouldn't have to go through those things for you to realize what you have. It's not my fault that men are dumb and they don't realize what they have before it's too late.